Hello, you are listening to the OmniTalk Fast 5, brought to you in partnership with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group, Firework, Trigo, Sezzle, and Silk. Headline number 5, according to Chain Store Age, Gap has entered into a partnership with a subsidiary of UPS to open its fulfillment centers to small and mid-sized businesses. The specialty apparel giant is partnering with Where, W-A-R-E, 2, the number 2, Go, Where to Go, an on-demand fulfillment platform that enables 1 to 2 day shipping across the U.S. The two companies are said to be combining Gap's hosted supply chain service, which is called GPS Platform Services, which the chain launched in 2022 with Where to Go's delivery platform. The new joint service offers small to medium-sized businesses, or SMBs, a combined footprint of over 35 warehouses and distribution centers, as well as machine learning and data science capabilities. This is a quote. The future of fulfillment looks like SMBs owning 0 warehouses, end quote, said Steve Denton, CEO of Where to Go. Quote, our merchants want to remain focused on growing their business and product portfolios and not worry about the ins and outs of their inventory placement or building up a labor workforce to support peak season, end quote. Chris,
yes.
This is also the A&M put you on the spot question.
I had a feeling because I realized we hadn't had it yet.
Yes. A&M wants to know this. Gap started this journey a while ago for businesses that were counter-cyclical to theirs, and now to leverage the assets they've built to support Q4 spikes as well as when business was stronger. Are there enough counter-cyclical players to fill what Gap needs, and how much time should an apparel retailer spend on enabling their platforms to manage other businesses?
There's some leading the witness in that question. I like it. It's such a great question. You know what it tells me, too? It tells me that A&M goes to the well on these questions and bats them around internally until they feel like they've got something that they like.
And somebody's actually run a DC
right.
and
Right.
knows how the supply chain
knows how
works.
this works, yeah.
Yes.
But they're like really going to the well on these, like internally. I can tell as they're like sending to us, because that's a very, very thoughtful. There's many next levels to that question.
Yes.
So, well, first off, I want to say this before I answer the question directly. This whole idea is starting to overtake the retail media network as the hot idea every creature of habit retailer is going to start trying, I think. But now to answer the question, and Shekar from Quiet Platform, American Eagle subsidiary, he addressed this directly on stage. He said that there are tons of different seasons that can be leveraged to smooth demand out of these warehouses. He cited things like the Super Bowl for food, the summer season, back to school. But honestly, I'm a little skeptical of that argument, which I think is what A&M is too when you read between the lines. Like, for example, that might be true, but you're not running food out of the same warehouse that you're running your apparel out of, right? It just doesn't work that way. At least from my knowledge, it doesn't. And so I don't necessarily understand how that helps. So the point that A&M is alluding to is valid. And the other thing I'd say is I don't think anyone should get carried away with this idea. There are possibly some unique elements to what American Eagle is doing, but in many ways, it's starting to, and what Gap is doing too, but like in many ways, it's just starting to feel like an extension or like another version of a 3PL setup. And so my question for the SMBs that are thinking about this is I would be very resolute and thoughtful in asking, what am I getting with you that I'm not getting with the traditional 3PL? Lay that out for me and separate it from all the gloss and glitz that you're putting on this, like making it sound like it's really different, because maybe it is, and maybe I just don't understand it well enough yet, and I'm open to it. But that's what I would be doing, is like checking the boxes. I get this with them, I get this with this other player. What are the differences? And make a conscious decision about that, because otherwise you could get swept up in this, for sure.
I want to challenge one thing that you said.
Okay.
Because you're saying you're not shipping food and like apparel out of the same warehouse. I mean, isn't Walmart, Amazon, Target? No, they're not shipping out of the same. Like even dry goods, they're not using
dry
the
goods.
same.
Dry goods they might be, but I would imagine there are different warehouses built for food distribution. At least there were in my time. Different warehouses built for food distribution because you have freezers,
right?
You know, you saw things that manifest. Well, actually, the guy from Walmart was talking specifically about his cold storage distribution center. So there you go.
Right, but I think I guess my question is like, is there enough other materials in the store that are boxed similarly, that are like the center aisle stuff that could be utilized? And when you think about direct to consumer, other small to medium sized businesses, like they could be sending, like Liquid Death or like all these other like energy drinks that are specific to people. Like there could potentially be a case made that there are cyclical things that could fill some of those gaps. I think to your point though, it's going to take, and to A&M's point, it's going to take a lot of work on the part of the retailer that is outside their area of expertise in order to do this. And is that worth the time investment and the resource investment?
Well, and the point I come back to with what you just said, honestly, which I think strengthens the argument is, the 3PLs already do that. They've already figured all this out.
Sure.
They already have the networks built to capitalize on that. Like they're not new to this game.
Right.
And so like analogous to media networks, like my question then becomes, how many of these do we really need?
Right.
And who has the right to win in this space? Somebody that's been doing that and figured that out and figured out all those product variations?
For sure.
Or someone like an apparel retailer who has no experience doing that and to A&M's point could get distracted by trying to do it. Now, granted, it's probably a different arm of the organization. It doesn't really impact Gap's day-to-day business. I could make that argument too. Like as long as you keep this separate and you're smart about it, like there's not that much like distraction argument to me. But still, it's who has the right to win. And again, ask the question, what am I getting here?
Right.
It's really different. Or is this just something made to sound cool because you got software involved and you got some startups involved?
Right.
I don't know.
And is it a race to the bottom again? Like to your point of how many do you need? Like one, how good are the deals going to get, and how much money are you actually making when all is said and done to get those people onto your logistics marketplace?
Yeah, ultimately, I think what's going to happen is you're just going to see a lot of activity in the space, and there's going to be a lot of companies that start acquiring each other over time, and people will make money on this idea as they get acquired.